Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, all of you, to another episode of our online New to Islam chat show, where we have guests, new guests every time, telling their story and why they decided to accept Islam. Today, we have with us Brother Simon, aka Saif, I believe, your Muslim name, who is
Exactly.
from. Actually, I won't tell them where you're from. I'll let you introduce that. So, if you could start, please, first of all, by telling us, who you are, where you're from, and a bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Definitely. Well, as you've all heard, my name is Simon Schmidt, and I'm actually from Switzerland. I was born in Abu Dhabi in 1989 and raised in Switzerland, actually. So at the age of 2, I went back to, or my parents went back to Switzerland. And I was raised in a Catholic family. And then from the age of 9 till 16, I was in Catholic boarding school.
Okay.
And well, we always traveled between the UAE and Switzerland because of my parents' work, but mainly resident in Switzerland. So maybe 2 months a year maximum we were in the UAE. I came back to the UAE in 2010 and resident since then here, and not planning to go back. And bit more about me and maybe work, I would say I worked mainly in private banking and still do kind of. Now I work in asset management and commercial brokerage. That's a summary about me, I would guess.
Okay, great. Interesting. Which part of Switzerland, if you don't? I'm just curious.
I grew up in the French part, but originally from the Swiss German part, from
Okay.
Lucerne.
Lucerne, yeah. I've been to many places in Switzerland, which is why I was just curious.
Yeah,
Very beautiful country. I
thank you.
guess that, you give an introduction to yourself, obviously. So that people are probably wondering, okay, this guy's from Switzerland. He may have been born in Abu Dhabi, but he was brought up in Switzerland. You went to a Catholic boarding school. So they're probably wondering, how did you become, especially as you spent most of your life back in Switzerland, how did you start becoming or interested in Islam?
How can I say? I mean, as I said, that's from early age, I was regularly to church. I mean, in boarding school, I went once to twice a day to church. But with time, I grew interested into Islam. How would I say? I mean, I was always close to religion, but I was interested in Islam already. I think at the age of 15, I started to be interested. I don't think I felt really fulfilled with Christianity. I was looking for something else which would answer all my questions I had at that time. I planned to learn more before taking the step and convert to Islam or embracing Islam. Um, yeah, that's about it. I think it came quite early with age, the interest into Islam, but taking the step is something else.
So
And I took this. Yeah.
how did you? Of course, you became interested, but was there anything? How did this just come in your mind? Islam? Did you come in touch with Muslims? Did you? How did you start to? What was the initial thing that kind of got you interested, and then how did you start to know more before you obviously
No,
were
that's just,
taking the step? But how did you kind of get the information that it led you to taking the step, as they say?
well, that came later. That came when I could have done it in Switzerland, but I guess it's a bit more difficult, and you might have some people which preach a bit the wrong part of Islam. I was afraid of that. So by coming to the UAE, that allowed me actually to meet with people which are good Muslims and good practicing Muslims. I surround myself from a few friends which are still are friends, very close friends of mine. One of them is also in charge of the Islamic Center in Abu Dhabi, the House of Islamic Culture. And I think they taught me a lot about Islam, and they helped me to take this step forward and embrace the religion. I did take my time, yes, and I think everybody should take its time. Also, that shouldn't get forced into anything he doesn't feel comfortable with. But for me, yeah, I think friends around me they showed me the beauty of Islam, and then I, by learning more, reading more into it, there's a lot of books you can get in the Islamic centers which teach you a lot. You have very good teachers in the Islamic center which teach you also the beauty of Islam. And I think then in 2013, 14, I did take the step and embrace Islam.
it's important what you mentioned, that the fact that, you wanted to make sure that you were listening to the right people, because we always say that, you know, Islam is perfect, but Muslims aren't.
Mhm.
So,
True.
there may be many people who, and of course there, we can never say, of course, that there is a wrong Islam. Islam is always right. But definitely we can say that there are people who, may give a false message saying that this is a message of Islam, but it is their own warped, misconceived
Exactly.
misunderstandings, that they are saying, not the true Islam. So we always say to people, look at Islam as the religion. Don't judge Islam by, in reality, a very small minority of Muslim, people who, say they are doing things in the name of Islam. So that's also very important. Um, what was it you'd say that really, struck you about Islam? Because a lot of people we speak to, they say, for example, that one of the main things that, convinced them, or that really stood out to them, is how Islam really focuses on there is only one true God, and that nothing should be worshipped except Him. And he has no, there's nothing like Him. He has no, he has no children. He's not equal to anybody. So a lot of people say that this really, to them, this was the only religion that really kind of explained the Almighty as being the Almighty, the Creator. The Creator cannot be like His creation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I believe in, from what I learned, actually, it is said also in the other monotheistic religions, say the same, but it's not applied. So, for example, I mean, don't have to go into details, but we know that it's not really applied. Also, you don't pray, you don't adulate other than God.
Yes.
And in some religion, even though they are monotheistic, they pray to others, and which is for us Muslim, it's not the case. And so that was one thing. I mean, for me myself, and I said, I had one important point, and also it just because it was in my brain like this growing up Catholic, is that the Virgin Mary is virgin, and in Islam also she is a virgin. That helped, actually. That opened the door already a bit more for me to learn more about Islam. But I think it's more about the beauty of the religion, the mercifulness of the message, how merciful it is, and how really in Islam it's a lot about being kind to each other. It's a lot about taking care of ourselves in order to be able to be good to others. And I think the entirety of the religion makes most sense to me, and is actually the most suited for me, I've discovered.
It's a good point. It's interesting you mentioned the fact that, Virgin Mary, because, we believe, as well as Muslims, of course, as you know, apart from, our main testimony of faith, which, we're going to talk about, that you would have had to have said to become a Muslim back in 2013, I think you said, is that, you have to believe and testify that there is only one true God, and nothing deserves to be worshipped except Him, Allah, Almighty God. And the Prophet Muhammad is His
Exactly.
last and final messenger. But of course, as Muslims, as you know, we must believe in Jesus and Abraham and Moses. And we believe that
Mhm.
that they all came with Islam, because Islam literally means to
True.
submit and surrender to Almighty God. So they all came with this message. The big difference, of course, as Muslims, we don't believe that any of them were God, or the sons of God, or part of God,
Mhm.
or deserved to be worshipped. However, they were the best of mankind. So, we do have that similarity in the sense of, we also believe in Jesus, etc. But, like, as we said, Him being the Messiah, the chosen one, however, not being God Himself or having the characteristics of God. So
Exactly.
2013, you took the final step.
Yes.
How did that happen? Where did you do it?
I did it at a friend's place, actually, with a few other friends around, and it was very easy. I thought it would be a bit more ceremonial as in other religions, but I just actually acknowledged Islam as being my religion, and then I repeated the words. Obviously, I didn't speak Arabic and still don't, unfortunately, but I'm learning. But they told me exactly what I was saying, and then came home and took a shower. And obviously, with step by step, it's not, I didn't become the perfect, I mean, nobody is a perfect Muslim, but I think I keep on learning step by step. And I didn't wake up next morning and directly I felt like now I am fully Muslim. No, I have to learn, and I still am learning. and I have to perfection myself with time. And but it did take a big weight away from my heart.
I mean, it's good what you said. A lot of people have this misconception, and I've heard this throughout many years, where people say, I know Islam is the truth. It makes complete sense, but I can't become a Muslim because, I know myself, I have this weakness or that weakness, or I'll never be a very religious man, so therefore I'm not going to become a Muslim. Or we have some people on the other side say, I want to become a Muslim, but first I'll read the Quran, the whole Quran from beginning to end, once, twice, 3 times. I'll fast the whole month of Ramadan. I'll start praying 5 times a day for 2 months so that I know I can commit. Then once I've done that, then I will take the step and finally become a Muslim. Where, of course, like you said, no one's perfect. No one will wake up being perfect. It will take time for everybody. Everybody's different. But the main thing is, if you've come to the conclusion, that it makes complete sense and you believe it, why would you, kind of kid yourself, or why would you not take the final step? You'll never be perfect, but it's better to it's better to recognize that belief and take that step and be an imperfect, than to know it's the truth, know that you believe in it, but just keep delaying it or not accepting it because you think you won't be perfect, because, well, nobody will ever be perfect.
Exactly.
So once you became Muslim, this is often a question people ask, for those people who are thinking of becoming Muslim. They think, how will I, what will my friends and family say? How can I continue to live my life when I've lived most of my life as a non-Muslim? So what was your experience in that regards?
Well, I was quite lucky on that point. I mean, considering my family, they were quite open-minded. My father was very straightforward. He said, "Look, I take my path. We all have the same goal in the end, that's for sure." But I mean, I got told as long as I respect people, they don't have any issues with me praying and to whoever and however. So the family was quite open-minded about it, and that helped quite a lot. Regarding the friends, I already had quite a few Muslim friends around me, and I still have Christians, Muslims, and Jewish. I mean, I'm not categorizing like this, but they helped me also through it, and kept on learning, and still am learning. How was it taken? A few people. Sometimes they were a bit surprised and maybe against it also, especially when I go back to Switzerland sometimes. But I think with time, in life, with God's help, for sure, I'm quite convinced. People which are good for us stay around us, and the people which want us harm, that they kind of disappear with time. So, and that's what happened.
So, I mean, I guess for the final question for today's episode, for those people out there who are, looking into Islam, some of them may be still looking, some of them may have come to the conclusion that it makes complete sense. What would your advice be to them?
Well, my advice would actually, as you said earlier, is maybe have few friends around us or people we can go to, like in Islamic centers, which read about Islam also, speak about it. I mean, there is an answer actually, there's an answer to everything in Islam. And but we have to take, I think everybody should take its time and not be forced into it. You should do it out of conviction. And maybe for somebody which is new Muslim, maybe to read on a regular basis, read Quran, still be surrounded by Muslim friends. Doesn't mean that he has to put the other friends out, no, but it's still good to learn, and going to this new Muslim classes which are provided by Islamic centers. That's very helpful, I guess, for new Muslims.
It's good that you mentioned, the fact that Islam has the answer for everything, because that's what we say. We say Islam is a way of life. It literally, pretty much everything you come across in life, there is some kind of guideline, there is some kind of spiritual guideline and advice and way to live your daily life. So many things that I mean, there's so many things we could mention, but we know that just being good to your neighbor, just feeding your family, these are considered good deeds and acts of worship. So there's so much, like you mentioned, that we couldn't go on. It's been very interesting to have you on today's episode. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And as for the viewers, we thank you again for tuning in. And like we said, any of you who are watching this and have more questions, would like to reach out, you can do so via our social media, Islamic ICDXB, Islamic Information Center Dubai, on the various social media platforms. I'll be more than willing to answer your questions if you'd like to reach out for us. If you're not in Dubai, still feel free to contact us. We can either help you or put you in touch with people where you are, who will be able to give you the correct and true message of Islam, inshallah. So we will end, as we always do, to the viewers, thanking you again for tuning in, and we will end with the greetings of Islam, which are the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you.